Okay, guys, today we're going to talk about percent of change. And what we've been talking about is percent proportion, where we've had, um, we started out with 5/10, and we figured out that, oh, an equivalent fraction is 1/2. And then if we took away this 2 and made that an x, 10 times 1 is 10. 10 divided by 5 is 1. So we learned how to cross multiply. We learned how to do all of that. We started working with units where we had, miles over, I'm sorry, let me do one that's easier, where we had pounds per minute. How many pounds did Susie eat of crawfish, and how many minutes? So keeping the units on the top the same and keeping the units on the bottom the same, figuring out what goes where, what you're looking for, and then cross multiplying and dividing. We've done that. Then we took it a next step and we started talking about um, just percent proportion just in general, which is part over whole equals percent over 100. So basically what it was you had part of something and you wanted to find out, okay, well, what percent would that be of the whole? So you're trying to find the percent of a number or the part of a number. And those keywords were is over of. And then we took it a step further and we found out that, oh, this part is also tax, tip, discount, markup, markdown, all of that stuff. And we found that if I went to a grocery store and I paid $30 for something and they charged me 6.25% sales tax, we could figure that out. So we would do 30 times 6.25. So 30 times 6.25%, not percent, I'm sorry. I'm doing this my way that I normally do. 30 times 6.25 equals 187.5. Divide that by 100. Oops. And you get $1.87, 1.875, which is $1.88. So we figured out that tax is something that we add, tip is something that we add, discount is something that we take away, clearance is something that we take away. And I could find out that at this store, I spent 30 bucks. That's the original amount. And I added the tip of $1.88. And when you add 30 plus $1.88, you get $31.88. So that's how much you're actually paying at the end of the day. So we've kind of taken this and broken it into steps. And now you know how to figure out tax, tip, discount, part over a whole. You know how to convert units. We've been able to do quite a bit of things with that formula. And we're going to continue to use the same kind of thing, except now you're going to try to find the percent of the change of something. So what we're doing is we are figuring out that something increased by what percent did this increase by? What percent did this decrease by? And step one is you're going to set up same proportions, is to subtract the original and the new amount. So you've got a new proportion. You still got percent over 100, but now this is called amount of change. So basically it's the new minus the original. So whatever that change is, like in this case on the left-hand side here, you've got increases from 3 to 8. You have to figure out what that change is, put it in the proportion, then cross multiply. So, excuse me. So we have, and one more piece to this is that the bottom is the original. So we're always working with the original amount on the bottom. So we're increasing from 3 to 8. So 3 to 8. I'm sorry. The original was 3. That's the original. And the new is 8. But my new formula tells me that I have to take the new minus the original, basically the amount of change. It doesn't have to be new minus original. It just has to be, you're subtracting those two numbers. So 8 minus 3. 8 minus 3. And that equals, I'm going to write it down here, that equals 5. So you have a new fraction of 5 over 3 equals percent over 100. So what we did was we took the change and we put it in a new fraction because that's really the change that happened. It went up by 5. And so, and the reason why you know it went up is because of the word increase, and plus 3 is smaller than 8. So we are looking for what the percent would be. So we would multiply 5 times 100. 5 times 100 is 500. Divide that by 3. And you get 166.66 repeating percent. So we could just round this up to 167% increase. Now, does that make sense? Can something increase more than 100%? Well, let's look at that. You have the number 3, and 3 is as much as you have. 100% of 3 is 3. If I had only 1 of 3, that would just be a little bit. If I had 2 of 3, that would be a little bit. If I had 3 of 3, I have the whole thing, don't I? 100%. So did I increase by more than 100%? Well, what is 3 plus 3? That's 6, right? Well, yeah, obviously I did increase more than 100% because now I'm increasing to 8. That is more than 100%. So yes, you can have a percent that's over 100. And you will going forward. Same thing for when you need to decrease. You've got, you're going to decrease from 88 to 51. Still same thing, percent over 100. You're using your new minus original or original minus new, basically that amount of change over the original. And so the original amount was 88. The new amount is 88 minus 51, and 88 minus 51 is going to give you 37. So now it increased by 37. I mean, it decreased by 37. The original is still 88. We're still looking for the percent. So we still cross multiply. 37 times 100 is 3,700. So this is not really anything new. And then we're going to divide that by 88. And we get 42.0%, and we'll just do 42%. So this decreased by 42%. And the thing that you have to remember is this is your new proportion. and what you're looking for. So I guess you can relate it to the whole being the original, and now the top is just the change. So you're finding the change of something that happened. Maybe something was marked up or marked down. It's basically the same thing that you've been doing, just in a different way. All right, so let's take a look at this first example here, and you've got, I just took a picture of the whole screen. You've got Mr. Fabra who can't use his screen anymore. All right, the number of people who signed up for a bus trip increased. So we're looking for an increase from 32, so that was the old, to 45, that's the new. Or maybe we say original. That way we keep our words the same. So my formula, or my proportion, is still a percent over 100. My original goes on the bottom, and my change, amount of change, goes on the top. So let's go ahead and plug all those numbers in. What was our original? Our original was 32. And then amount of change, it went from 45, it went from 32 to 45. So we're going to subtract those two. So 45 minus 32 is going to give you 13. So you have 13 over 32. And hopefully everybody sees that all I'm doing is just a basic subtraction problem. And that's going to equal a percent over 100. So we're looking for that increase percent amount. And so we've got 13 times 100, which is 1300, divided by 32 is 40.62. So let's just round that to 41%. So same thing. Nothing new here, except now all I'm doing is just taking a new number and subtracting it from the original number, or adding it to the original number, just depending on what you're asking for. Okay, the regular price of a scooter is $65. So that's the original, because that's what it costs at the beginning. It is now on sale for $52. So this is your new amount. So they're giving you, they are putting it on sale, which means that this is a discount. What is the percent decrease from the regular price to the sale price of the scooter? Well, let's put our amount of change over the original equals percent over 100. And so let's go ahead and plug in those numbers. We don't know what the percent is, but we know that's 100. We know the original is 65. So I would strongly suggest that you, if it were me, I would circle and highlight all these words, label them with new and original, so that way you know what they are. And so the amount of change, it went from 65 to 52. You're going to subtract it, because change you're subtracting. So 65 minus 52 is going to give you 13. So now you have 13 over 65, which equals percent over 100. Now you're just cross multiplying. That's 1300. 1300 divided by 65 is going to give you 20%. So this store gave you a 20% discount on this scooter. I would write this stuff down. All right. Okay, to find the new amount, basically you're going to put it in a proportion. And we're kind of, what we did back here was we were looking for the percent. Now I'm giving you the percent and you need to find what the new amount was. So you'll put it in a proportion, then you'll cross multiply, and then you'll add if it's increase, you'll subtract if it's decrease. So this example that I've given you here is we started at $5. So that's our original. And we increased by 25%. Well, this is how, remember I told you guys this is how you cross multiply fancy or whatever. You make two equations and then you divide by 100 and you get all that stuff. But you could just multiply these two numbers, 5 times 25. That equals 125. And then when you divide that by 100, you get 1.25. So it started at $5. Now this is where your common sense has to come in. It started at, and where adding and subtracting decimals would be. It started at $5. It increased by 25%. Well, you found out that it increased by $1.25. So if it increased by $1.25, you're going to add it, and that becomes $6.25. Okay, apparently I just kept going and going and going and going. Okay, Jake currently runs about 20 miles per week, and he wants to increase his weekly mileage by 30%. How many miles will Jake run per week? So let's take a look at this. Okay, so this is originally what he does. That's his original amount. And he wants to increase by 30%. So we're going to increase by 30%. Let's just stop with that first. So we've got our amount of change over our original equals the percent over 100. Well, in this case, I've given you a lot of that information. So we have the original, and we have the percent, which is 30. Oops, I need to erase that. I meant to put 20, not original. So 20. So we are looking for about how many miles is he going to run. So that is our amount of change. So that's what we're looking for. So how many miles will Jake run per week if he increases by 30%? So you're figuring this out. You're figuring the amount of change without subtracting now. Now you're just finding that number. Where like in the first example, I gave you 3 to 8. You're finding that difference. So now all we got to do is cross multiply and divide. So we've got 20 times 30, which is 600, which I could have done in my head, but I'm showing you guys. And plus it's late and I'm lazy. Divided by 100 is 6. So if he wants to make this happen, he needs to increase his 20 miles to 26 miles per week. Because he runs 20 right now, and he needs to add 6 more miles to meet his 30% that he is wanting to meet. So those are just some examples of how to do percent of change. We're going to be doing this quite a bit, especially because we're going to get into markup and markdown. But this is your lesson for today. So I hope you took some notes, some really good notes, and we will talk soon.